Well, we don't get verbal jousting and flipping of the bird in the House of Commons any day, so we thought we'd bring in Nathan Cullen, who was sort of the, I guess you could call him the antagonist to cause the reaction he caused from Peter Van Loan, the House Leader. But let's set the stage. Nathan Cullen, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. Tell us what point you were raising in the House before this all blew up.
So last night we had a bunch of votes on the budget. It lasted 6-7 hours. Ended up about 9:15 last night. And the last vote was the vote about the whole thing, the whole package.
You bring all the amendments in, this
has all been happening, and now it's the vote. And the finance minister's name was attached to the vote. And the rules of the House say that if you're moving a vote, you got to be there. And he left a couple of votes before. We don't know why, and it doesn't necessarily even really matter. He just wasn't there. So the point we were raising today was we should either do that vote again or figure some way out of this, because in effect we can't move on with this budget because the vote we had last night, the guy who was supposed to be there, the one guy that needed to be there, skipped out. So that's what happened. That's what I proposed. The Speaker actually ruled against me and said, well, there's some practices to get around that, and maybe that's what happened. It was a clerical error.
Right, so this all finishes, everyone sits down, and then what happens?
Well, Mr. Van Loan's quite upset.
Peter Van Loan's the House Leader.
He's my counterpart in the government, and he's quite upset, and then marches across those Commons. I think folks have said you can kind of see it on the tape. And then starts getting pretty hot under the collar, and accuses me of a bunch of things, and uses language that is, what do they say, unparliamentary. It's better in a bar, not even every kind of bar.
What was your reaction to that? Like, what was
a little, you know, the first when someone comes at you, what is exactly you won, right? I'd hate to see what you'd look like if you lost. And second, what he was saying wasn't making any sense. Like his threats were, and the connection to why he was upset didn't make any sense. And the fact that you have debates in Parliament all the time, and you win and you lose some, and that's how it goes. But when you cross into a boundary where it becomes quite personal and aggressive, that's where you sort of take a pause and want everything to push. My reaction is to push back, right, and say, this isn't appropriate here. We just had a motion on bullying the week before. The government voted against. Okay,
well,
I get it.
Mulcair in all this? Was he
well, sitting right beside me. No, we had just finished voting on the government shutting down debate that day, so we were all in the House. The whole House was almost filled with MPs, and we were just sitting, having listened to the ruling from the Speaker. So Tom was beside me and found the language totally inappropriate, and told him not to threaten my House Leader, I think was the quote.
Or step outside and put up your dukes?
Well, the idea that this interaction has to take place is totally unfortunate. It's just it's no place for it.
Do you do anything now? Do you go to the Speaker and say, hey, this was pretty unparliamentary? Because Megan Leslie seemed genuinely upset by this.
Megan was sitting on the other side of me, because that's the order that we sit in. I'm not sure. I mean, I'll eventually talk to Mr. Van Loan, right? That's my approach to things. That
want an apology?
I don't think coming across the House and using that kind of language and that kind of aggressive tone it looks good on anybody. The government they had their finance minister skip out on a finance vote. I understand that they might be upset or embarrassed by how things happened last night, but there's not really any excuse for this. And if we're looking for decorum, which has been a big push for me, trying to find civility in our politics, I think it's important that we restore that. Tempers are flaring right now, so maybe just right in this particular moment asking for apology isn't right, but we should eventually get there, and I'll talk to the Speaker, of course.
I'm just curious, on points of order, do you ever give the House Leader on the other side warning what you're about to raise?
From time to time. So, yeah, I gave the Speaker lots of warning on this one, because of the timing, we were going to need a ruling back quite quickly, because our argument was we can't move ahead on the budget bill because we got the vote wrong. So he got some warning. Time to time I'll tell Mr. Van Loan what we're doing and why we're doing it, for sure.
Okay, definitely not very parliamentary of the...
well,
anyway.
Temper split.
Okay.